enough? Are we really producing graduates that can be employed in the market? Is this what we really want to be sending out to the market? What is the feedback from the employers? Back to 2015, the bigger issue is that it's not producing people to take on jobs. And this provides a gap between what the industry really wants and what is actually coming out of universities. The question would be, did we not predict this? Did we not see that this is going to be a problem? If we actually go back to the Time magazine in 2006, it actually predicts that this is a story about whether an entire generation of kids will fail to make the grade because they can't think, work in teams, distinguish good information from bad, or speak a language other than their own. These are things that we are already seeing in universities these days. These are things that we are already seeing in our graduates. So this is where the problem statement comes in, because in the sense that, number one, we have technology. When we have technology, the moment that you ask a question, what do students do? Google. Of course, sometimes Google gives a lot of wrong answers as well, but they Google. So they have a lot of information. But if they have a lot of information, why are we having this problem? And that is where the gap is going to be. So this comes back to my research questions. Number one, does technology even add value? Is the traditional teaching better? And the third, what would be our roles as educators? I'm just going to run through the lit review very quickly. The first thing would be the irrelevance of how we are teaching theories rather than the practicality. Secondly, that we actually need to start innovating our teaching methods. And third is when we are actually teaching ERP systems in classes. One of the biggest problems that we are actually facing is students are struggling to actually even understand the overall concept. Now, how do we deal with this? In a sense that, number one, students need to be given opportunities to solve their problems. Number two, we can also be utilizing tools in the classrooms as business simulations. Now, in the sense that how does this relate back towards the theory of disruptive innovation, and how does it come back to the sustainability of the disruptive innovation? The surprising factor is, for it to be actually considered as a disruptive innovation, it just goes down the path of being simple, affordable, convenient, and a capacity to actually give out something to people who didn't have it before. Most importantly, Parrot 2017 uses the term value creation. And value creation is something that we are actually seeing these days. A lot of companies, a lot of governments, global institutions are focusing on sustainable value creation. Like what Prof. Siva was mentioning just now, how does it impact our environment? How does that affect our sustainable development goals by UN? All that comes back to this. So in this entire picture, it basically tells you on what we need to be looking at as part of our education. From the far end there, you can see the real world context where we take the best practices and we actually have to integrate that within our education system. And from there, we actually have to take a look at what are we actually generating? How are we teaching them to be humans? How are we teaching them to take care of the world? And how are we teaching them that profitability is not just the most important factor? This comes back to the gap of, I'm just going to go through the first line on the top. Education must let go of the false hope of technological determination. That means in the sense that the moment we use technology, it means that, we're innovative, we're changing our students, we're changing our education style. It doesn't work that way. What happens is this, we're just using the tool. The tool is going to be only as powerful as how we want it to be. And that is where we need to go down the path of principle of interaction. Now, we may be thinking that we are talking about something new, but in 1938, Dewey was actually talking about this, in the sense that how do we relate the entire thing at the end of the day? How do we relate it to the environment? How do we relate it back to the learner? How do we relate it back to the content information? The nice idea from Dewey 1938 was this, that educators need to get rid of this misconception that students are empty vessels that their teachers fill with a magical elixir of knowledge. We need to understand that our students have a background, our students have knowledge, our students also come from different environments, and they can add value to our teaching style. Do academics even have a role? We have a lot of e-learning these days. We have a lot of, let's say, for example, even MonsoonSIM. But can we actually run all this without our educators? Do we really need to be paying these people money? They're a lot of money. These are questions that universities and education institutions need to ask. Prensky advocated replacing teachers with technology and says, oh, let's teach ourselves. Luckily, we've got Professor McFarlane who says that we can't do that. The technology is just a tool, but the academic is the one that's going to come forward and tell them how to do it under effective instructions. This is my research methodology. It was basically a mixed method. One was I was going through the questionnaires filled out by 17,015 students, and I also interviewed 2 lecturers who were also part of the trainer, and this was purely qualitative research. Now, the tool that I actually used was MonsoonSIM ERP. Now, why did I use it? Number one, obviously it's a game. So it's a new type of teaching and learning. However, it's going down the path of actually teaching students on how do you run a business, what are the focus areas, and most importantly, it gives you a clear criteria of goals and measurements. You can choose whether you want to rank your students based on profitability, based on cash flow, or based on a mix of factors. It's up to you, but there's a clear criteria. Secondly, it simulates the business environment. And third, it motivates creativity and innovation in the students. And this helps to achieve the sustainable strategies, and it's flexible enough to react to market conditions. Now, my own personal experience with this particular software was this. I've run this several times with students as well. And the one thing that I've noticed is every single time they've come up with a new strategy, and that upsets the whole market, and they have to keep learning over and over again. So that is the good part of it. We're teaching them to think, we're teaching them to apply. These are some of the results and findings that I found from the student feedback. Number one, fun, challenging. They were not falling asleep. In fact, they bug us more often. Can you please play another game? Can you please extend it? So they really look forward to it. And like one of the areas that I was mentioning just now, that students are unable to communicate or sometimes even, communicate with their team members. This helps because you have to work in a team. You need to have the 5 people there. Otherwise, it's very difficult to actually handle the overall business. Secondly, there's an integrated approach where they can actually understand the various modules that are there. That helps to come back towards theory, that helps to come back towards all the slides that they are seeing at the end of the day. Now, although majority of them say that they prefer this to the traditional style of lecture slides and theory, there are some of them who actually face a wee bit of difficulties at times. And this is where, as an educator, you need to be able to differentiate between the fast learners and those that may be struggling with the concepts. This is where you help them to understand where the integration comes in and what do you need to do. So, as my last point, it requires guidance, hence the need for the balance between classroom style and experiential learning. From the lecturer side, we definitely noticed the students' motivation and enthusiasm. Most importantly, when it came back towards the learning outcomes, especially the things for management accounting or even for management topics, it comes back towards showing that students are able to understand the business. They are able to look at inventory management. They are able to understand pricing. They are able to understand demand and supply. So it's good. All these different levels will actually end up helping them to have a clearer idea of the business. So basically, as my conclusion, technology plays a role, but how effectively do you want it to be? It depends. It depends on you as the academic, it depends on the classroom, and it depends on how you put it forward. But the ERP system, or even the sustainable disruptive innovation, these are all concepts. They are concepts that have been there for many years. It's just that we keep growing and we keep moving. Hence, we just move with the times on how we're going to deal with the younger generation. Thank you.